Can I take Adderall and Ozempic at the same time? When you're combining peptides with medications, you want to do it intelligently, but also with an expert to guide you. I'm going to show you the precautions that you'll want to take ahead of time if you're using Adderall and Ozempic together. I'm also going to show you some peptides that you may want to consider when using Ozempic and Adderall because they could benefit you. By the end of this video, you're going to know what route to take if you are taking Ozempic and Adderall together. All right, so a lot of people are using Adderall because you want to be able to focus, you want to be able to finish your tasks. There's nothing wrong with it, but many people come to me and they say, Regan, are there side effects of using these stimulants like Adderall or Ritalin or Vyvanse? And unfortunately, those side effects show up later in life. And so with the information I'm going to share with you today, you're going to learn how you can actually use it safely and maybe find a new alternative that's going to be good for your brain in the long run. The other issue is when you have stimulant like Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, and you combine that with a GLP-1, you're going to have a whole new host of side effects to deal with. That's why I wanted to share this video with you, because I had one of my clients who came. He runs a very successful legal firm, and he's been using Adderall for about 20 years. And he just found that he has such a letdown on the weekends when he's not using it. And so he said, what can I do? Because I'm noticing that my brain is just needing more and more of the stimulant. I can't get creative. I can't finish tasks. I just feel stuck. And my doctor prescribed this drug called Ozempic. He's like, do you know what it is, Regan? I'm like, I think I've heard of peptides. We were using peptides before they were cool. We've been using them for over a decade. But he said, now I'm noticing that I get more acid reflux. I'm not eating. My wife says I'm looking really gaunt. My face is all gray. And the problem is when you're on a stimulant, you're going to have less hunger. That's just part of the side effect profile of some of these stimulants and these ADHD drugs. And then when you add in a GLP-1, now you've got no appetite, and what do you think is going to happen to your energy levels over time? So sure enough, we ran his labs, and I talked to him. I'm like, okay, Ken, here's what we've got to do, because two big problems are going on in your body. Problem number one is your thyroid. Your TSH is like 5, so that's your thyroid stimulating hormone. So his thyroid had shut down. And then I said, problem number 2 is your liver enzymes are really high. So his body was not digesting. I'm like, how often are you having a bowel movement? He said, oh, maybe every 3 days. I said, are you drinking any water? He's like, when I drink water, it gives me acid reflux. So what we did is we said, we've got to do an entire reset for you because it's hurting your metabolic system. And in the long run, what's going to happen is you're going to be breaking down muscle mass at an even greater level. Because when we looked at his labs, we found that there's a marker that was very elevated that shows that his body's actually losing muscle mass rapidly. And that muscle mass that he was losing was also impacting his liver and impacting his kidneys. And that's where he had this energy deficit. Now his brain's not working because his thyroid's turned off. And then his hormones, his testosterone was starting to drop. He also noticed his estradiol was coming up. So his body was going through this massive transition that he didn't want because he was using these medications. So for those of you who are considering it, well, the first thing you want to look at is there a better way? Hopefully today I can share with you that there is. Now you want to consult with your prescribing physician. So anything I'm sharing with you is my opinion and it's what I've seen clinically, but this is not any kind of medical recommendation. So number one, the first thing you want to look at if you're taking a GLP-1 like Ozempic is there's other alternatives out there. Retatrutide, for example, is a triple agonist. It's similar to tirzepatide, but they added glucagon with it. So for those of you who have performance goals, you're athletic, this can be really helpful for you. And we've have other videos on that, go check those out. But number 2 is if you are needing something for your ADHD, well, these peptides are magical. GLP-1s actually can help with your ADHD. They can help focus things in. But one of the diagnostics that we found very helpful is what we call the neurocatch, and it allows us to see the different processing centers of your brain. It shows us how well your brain is able to hold attention and focus. It also shows us how well your brain is able to process cognitive information, and then how well your brain can execute on certain tasks. And so when we get your blood work, we combine it with that neural catch, the electroencephalogram. That gives us a really good understanding of how your brain is functioning and then how your metabolic system's functioning. Because my goal is to build an ageless future operating system for every single person that we work with. And in order to do that, we need to optimize your brain health, your cardiovascular health, and your muscle health. And so some of the solutions that we've learned is that there are very interesting peptides that help the brain without causing you to have all of these side effects. And some of the side effects of Adderall is it's an amphetamine-based stimulant, and so over time it can really impact your nervous system. And you'll notice people can get tremors. They can also get pretty grumpy when they come off of this, and their motivation just goes into the tank. It reduces your appetite. It also can cause an excessive amount of weight loss, especially if you're not working out and you're losing the weight you don't want to lose, your vibrant muscles. The other thing that we found when using peptides like Cmax turns on BDNF, so it actually helps heal your brain. So if you've been on these ADHD medications for a long time, that's what we found with Ken, is we started using tesofensin on the weekends, and tesofensin helped activate his dopamine, his serotonin, his epinephrine pathways. So he still felt lively. His wife was like, "You're so much happier on the weekends. What are you doing different?" And he's like, "I know a guy." And so he didn't disclose. I'm like, "Hey, your wife probably needs to get on some peptides too. Good for everybody." But then we also use Cmax. And so Cmax is just a nasal spray. And he found that when he'd use that, he was actually able to maintain his focus. He was able to get the work done. And over the course of about 90 days, he was able to get entirely off his ADHD medication. He was working with his doctor at the time. He was able to shift off of the Ozempic and get on tirzepatide. And he noticed that he was able to maintain his energy levels. His face went from gaunt and kind of sunken in. And he actually started to gain muscle, and that was really impactful for him because his body composition changed. When I first saw him, he had lost a lot of weight, but his body just did not look vibrant. It didn't look fit. And so once he's able to make these shifts, not only does his brain work better, but he has better creativity. The third thing that he avoided was some of the cardiovascular impacts, because when you're on stimulants like Adderall or Vyvanse, you really want to watch your blood pressure. And he found that his blood pressure was getting high, and it was reflective in his kidney markers, because high blood pressure can damage the kidneys and it can also lead to strokes. And so instead of getting on a hypertensive medication, he was able to just shift things up and use these nootropics for his brain. So now he's finding that if he uses tesofensin about every other day, he loves Cmax, we've got him on methylene blue, and then on his peptide stack, we're finding that he's using all these peptides for BDNF, like IGF-1. He's on sarcotropin, and I've got that peptide right here. And what sarcotropin is, this works on three major systems in the body: the brain, the cardiovascular system, and the muscles. This is what we call the ageless axis, and sarcotropin is just a liquid-based peptide that activates growth hormone. It's got nootropics in it like DMAO. It also has vitamin D3 and K2, the M7 version of K2, so he's breaking up any kind of plaque and arterial damage that had resulted from being on these stimulants for too long. So the best thing that happened is he's got his brain back, he's got his physical fitness back, and he's starting to reverse age. People look at him in the office and they're like, "Ken, you look 10 years younger. What are you doing?" And so it's great because he feels like himself again. He's got his future that looks brighter than ever. And so if you're somebody who is struggling, you're looking for answers, and maybe you're wondering if Ozempic is right for you, check out my other video on the best alternatives to Ozempic. I'll see you there.